DIY Heaven.
It's time now for our DIY slot, and this week we're looking at our waterworks. Hattie Hasan received an MBE for her services to women in the plumbing and heating industry. She founded the company Stopcock's Women Plumber in 2006, helping hundreds of women with mentoring. And she runs DIY training courses for survivors of abuse to have more ownership of their own homes. Well, Hattie joins me now. Hattie, you are indeed a legend to me. How are you?
Oh, hello, Jumoke. Good to speak to you. I listen to you every Saturday.
Well, bless you. Thank you so much for joining us. I tell you what, the reason why I say I was Hattie, because I sat one day on a Zoom call that you were doing this, showing us the basics of plumbing, and it enabled me to go and change a tap in my kitchen.
I'm so proud.
It was the best thing. It was the best thing ever. But before we get into the detail of that, tell me a bit about how you came to plumbing and why you're still fascinated with it.
Well, I was a teacher for a long time ago, and I just decided I wanted to do something else with my hands. I was always handy, and I kind of thought back to my days at school, and I wanted to do engineering. I wasn't allowed in my school. Girls don't do engineering, you see. In my school, that's what they said. It was a long time ago, and so when I had the choice of what I wanted to do, I just thought, actually, I want to look back at that again. And I went to several kind of taster sessions in different places. And as soon as I did the plumbing one, I knew that was it.
Really? You just knew you had an innate skill for it.
Well, yeah. I have a lot for water because obviously, I mean, it just happens to be World Water Day today. I don't know if you know.
Yes.
Well, you know, and water is life, isn't it? It's the stuff of life, and so to be able to control it and get it to go where you want it to go and provide clean, fresh water. I've done some work in Africa and stuff. It's just. It's so fulfilling, and that's why I still love it.
Well, it's a wonderful thing, and you quite rightly point out, if we have access to it and we've got clean running water, we should all be grateful, absolutely. But it's also one of those things that can be quite dangerous if you don't control it. And we know that. I was just watching the other day on some social media platform where someone had said that their parents had gone on holiday. They'd gone over to check the house. They had a leak in the loft, which had obviously been going for quite a while, and they came and it was devastation, Hattie. I mean, it was like water everywhere, and that's something we all want to avoid for sure.
Yes, absolutely. And if on my little course that you attended, you would have heard the golden rule: know how to turn your water off.
Yes. Till today, it sticks in my brain, although my stopcock is now seized, which is really annoying. So I now need to kind of unseize it. And it's not as easy as it sounds to unseize it, is it?
No, but it's probably lime or something. And what I would do is I'd get some white vinegar and pour it on it, and then just give it a little twiddle bit every so often. But the way to make sure it doesn't do that is to just turn it on and turn it back on, turn it off and then turn it back on again every couple of months, 6 months. And then when you turn it fully back on, turn it fully back on, turn it off half a turn, and that will stop it from seizing. Oh,
well, I'm going to go home and do that for sure, because actually I only noticed the other day, because sadly, I mean, it's always perfect when I get to speak to someone like you. I have the upstairs bathroom toilet is running water, and I know I've got to sort it out. But the thing is, it's all built in, and someone said, oh, well, you just go underneath, and I'm like, I have to physically, there's no underneath. You must come across that a lot.
We do. We do come across it a lot. I mean, I think people, we get it from both sides. So some people think that, it's only a small job. And then you go there and you think, oh, no, it's not as small as you thought.
Yeah.
And so it's very difficult as a customer to be able to gauge. You know, it's only the experts who, when they get into the house, can say, yeah, you know, they're experts for a reason, because they've done stuff before. So it looks too easy to you watching them do it, but they've done hundreds.
Of course.
You know, I can go into a house and before the kettle's boiled, I've repaired something.
Wow.
But that's because I've probably seen everything in my 30-odd years.
And I have to say, I'm going online because I need to book a plumber. And actually, I'd rather have a female plumber, because that's the other thing, is that it's about not just safety and security, but also there is a thing. I don't mean to be disrespectful to any male plumbers. I've had many of them in my house. They've been wonderful. But you just kind of feel like they're going to look after you a bit better. But maybe that's just me.
Well, our plumbers certainly will look after you, Jumoke, definitely.
But it's rare. I mean, it's rare though to still. I mean, I'm in London to see or get in touch with female plumbers, isn't it?
Well, we've got a couple in London.
Yeah.
By the by.
By the by, yeah.
But we're only 1%. So yes, we're rare. We are a rare creature. There's more in London than anywhere else, but that's because there's more of everything in London.
Is it a career that appeals to women, though, or is it one is that the reason why there aren't as many?
I think it's not been marketed very well to women, because when you got under that tap and you fixed it, you felt over the moon,
absolutely,
didn't you? And I think that a lot of women are told that they shouldn't be doing those things, that it's too difficult and all this. And so we believe things about ourselves that aren't necessarily true. So I think if we had a massive marketing campaign that lasted not just for 5 months or 6 months, but continuous, we would soon see the numbers come up.
Is it a good career for women, though?
It's a fabulous career for women, especially, I must say, if you're self-employed.
Right. Because
one of the big things that women face is that kind of, oh, what about my children? What's going to happen if the school calls? You know? And that's where being in a job, it's not always as flexible as a woman needs it to be. And that's another reason why women are not attracted to that career, because they have to go via employment, and employers are not that flexible as they can be. And so self-employment as a plumber actually is really suited to women, because you just pick if you need to go and pick your child up from school early, or if it's fell over or something, you need to go and get it, then you can go.
What does the training entail, and what kind of certificates should women be aspiring to in order to become plumbers?
Well, you've opened a bit of a can of worms there, because, we get contacted, regularly by women saying, I want to be a plumber, but I've tried to find a way to train and I don't know which way to go. So I guess it all depends on what if you're young, you can just go to a college, any college, and if you're living at home, say with your parents, most, I've got to say, women who want to be plumbers, they're doing it as a reinvention of themselves. They think, it's my time now, what shall I do? Now, and the routes for them, although similar, they can go to a college, but the colleges are not as, again, flexible.
Right.
So normally they will go to like an evening class or do a part-time online with some workshop stuff. Yeah. But what you really, really need is a mentor. And that's why when I set up Stopcocks, it was to help women become self-employed, but to really provide mentoring, because I had no support when I left teaching and went into plumbing. The only support I had was an old guy who was at college, who was the technician at the time. And he loved me because he loved the fact that I loved plumbing. So he didn't mind if I asked him questions. And that's what I tried to provide to all of our plumbers.
It fascinates me when you say that, because I used to have a very old boiler, and it constantly broke down. It was ridiculous. Thank goodness I was under contract to one organisation, because otherwise I would have spent a pretty penny. I should have replaced it like 10 years, but I didn't. And so I remember one older gentleman coming and literally sitting on the floor and going, pool and he was doing all this noise, Hattie, but he was absolutely brilliant because by the time he works out what was wrong with the boiler, he said, I haven't seen one of those in a while. Do you know what I mean? And that experience, that is more than money can buy, isn't it?
Absolutely. And you can, when you learn to drive, you drive, you can go into a car park and drive, but actually you don't really learn to drive until after you've passed your test. Until you're on the road in the real world. And that's exactly the same with any trade. You don't really, you can learn as much, it's always perfect scenarios in workshops and stuff, but actually, when you're in the real world is when you get the real learning.
No,
I'm still seeing things I've never seen.
Oh, really? Like what?
Well, I mean, because technology is changing, so people will say to me, "Oh, I've never fitted this before." What do you say? And at the end of the day, I would say to them, "Well, it's just plumbing, so it'll have in and an out. Whatever's in the middle, between that, is the new technology. So I've never seen it before, but I will know how to fit it."
Well, actually, that applies to so much stuff, because actually when you make it when you make it simpler in terms of the way you think about it rather than this huge problem, it suddenly becomes much clearer, doesn't it?
Yes. You just have to understand some basic principles of things, and then you can, if you can apply that knowledge to all the different things that you're going to come up against. I mean, taps and toilets, they've hardly changed since Victorian times, since they were invented, really.
Well, you say that. I have all the bits and pieces of this toilet, which was an Italian toilet or something, and the gubbins, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this looks so complicated. I bought that. I thought, I'll be all right. I'll be able to fix it. And then I realized I don't even understand how to put that together, let alone open up the built-in thing. So that's definitely a plumber's job. It's not my job at all.
Yeah, well, that will be. But, there's so many things that householders can do for themselves. And, a long time ago, I made a series of videos called How to Never Call an Emergency Plumber.
Show me the road, Hattie. Show me the road. I definitely feel like we need that, because I was going to ask you, what are the kind of things that us ordinary homeowners can do without thinking, I need to call a plumber? And what are the things we should absolutely leave to the experts?
Obviously, anything to do with gas in your boiler.
Right, yeah.
Leave that to the experts. But things like topping up your heating system, bleeding radiators, you should be able to do that. And whoever installs your boiler or services your boiler, you should ask them to tell you how to do it.
Yeah.
Because that's okay. You can do that. Turning off your hot and cold water, knowing how to turn those off, you must be able to do.
Yeah.
Finding out if you can, for example, a lot of people don't realise, but underneath basins and toilets and sinks, there should be a little thing called an isolating valve.
Yeah.
It means that you can isolate just that tap. So if your tap in your sink is dripping, you can isolate that, and you don't have to be without water.
Yes.
So basically, it's all about how you can be in control of it. So you can call a plumber when it's right for you, not because there's water coming through your ceiling. You see, so it's just about knowing certain things about it. And mainly it's how to turn off your hot and cold water, how to top up your central heating system. And basically with those bits of knowledge, you can, I think you can pretty much, you can change tap washers as well.
Yeah,
there's plenty of, as you know.
As I've discovered, it's made me quite bold. I'm like, I'm looking at another one. Like, I really need to change, but I don't think I might leave this to an expert because it's upstairs. Anything upstairs scares me, Hattie. Downstairs I can kind of deal with. Upstairs I'm a bit like, nah, because if something goes wrong.
Yeah, I mean, but the thing is like I said, if you can turn the water off and make sure there's no water in that pipe.
Yeah. Then you
know that you're in control of it.
Yeah, that's true. And can I ask you legally? Like you have a tap, not a tap, I don't know what it's called, outside the house, which is normally outside every house. Are we legally allowed to touch that, or is that illegal?
You mean the stopcock that turns the water off?
No, not in the house, but you outside. When you're outside, there is which supplies your water to the house.
Yeah.
Are we allowed to touch that or not?
You are allowed. You are allowed. You can't maintain it because it actually doesn't belong to you, but you are allowed to touch it.
That's good to know. Not that I'm going anywhere near it, but
Well, I mean, what should really be the case is you've got that, but really there should be one inside your house.
yes.
Because, there's nothing worse than having to crawl about outdoors and get people to move their parked cars or whatever.
Absolutely.
So to turn that off in an emergency.
What are your top tips for as we approach spring? Is there anything that we should be looking out for?
You might want to look at your outside taps. If you've got taps on the outside, you're going to be wanting to turn them on so that you can. You may have, if you were diligent, you will have isolated those before the winter, because sometimes what happens is people don't, and they freeze and the pipes break.
Oh wow! Okay.
So obviously you'd know if that's happened by now, because they would be squirting water out all over your garden.
Yeah.
So if that hasn't, but I would just make sure that they're working, because the last thing is when you want to water your garden, you plug your hose in and you can't turn that on. So I would say check that sort of stuff. And I don't think there's anything really to look for during the spring. I think it's more as we're approaching
winter,
the cold. Well, you need to make sure your boiler's serviced, that you again, outside pipes need to be insulated, all that sort of stuff. Maintenance really is just essential when something goes wrong. So if you haven't maintained it, then it will go wrong.
Well, that is so true. Hattie, I can't thank you enough for joining us on the programme today. It's an absolute delight.
I'm so proud. I might even, if you don't mind, I might even boast that you changed the tap.
I know, literally, I did. It's because of you. I changed the tap. I got it all secure. I was so excited. I was like, I watched the Zoom. I pulled out all my little gadgets things, and I was under there doing
Fantastic.
It was absolutely brilliant. Hattie, thank you so much. And you really are a legend to me. And honestly, thank you for all the work that you've done to encourage women plumbers. Let me give people more details. You can find out more about Hattie Hasan MBE at stopcox.uk. That's stopcox.uk. Listen, you have no idea how much joy that brought me just to speak to Hattie. Here's James with the travel.